Howdy, my friend. I hope that this video finds you well. Today we are just having a quick discussion, just having a little talk about purpose and vision. So this has been coming up a couple times in one of my communities, as well as with some of my clients, as well as just in general what I'm seeing and on social media and in different groups I'm in. And I think it's just one of the, it's honestly, it's always there. It's not just like this is a fad or anything like that. This is just something that's always there, and it's purpose and vision. And it is so easy for us to just glance over that, or to say, yeah, I've got a vision statement, it's in my business plan, and then just keep rocking and rolling. And especially as entrepreneurs who are in a hurry to get somewhere. So I think it needs more due. I know it needs some more time. It needs some more intentionality. We can't just glance over it because it is literally our North Star. It's literally the thing. If we aren't connected to our vision, number one, we for sure do not feel like we are working or living on purpose. And if we're not connected with the vision of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to build, right? Then how are we going to be able to effectively make decisions? As I'm talking in church today, Sunday night, we went to church today, and the pastor was talking about clarity in general. He's like, man, without going through the whole thing, the short version is, if you're lacking clarity, why are you in a hurry? Why are you trying to do everything so fast? And it struck me, obviously, the context of what he was talking about for the story and all that jazz with family and everything. Anyway, it was very relevant, but I applied it to entrepreneurs, like most likely yourself, or professionals, of like, oh man, I just see, after coaching so many people and being in groups, whether mine or someone else's or whatever, so many people are in such a rush, they're in such a hurry, and they're going very, very fast. And I understand building a business needs speed. Like, if you're going to build a business, right, if you're going to really truly pursue building a business, like, there are seasons of speed, especially in the beginning. That's where growth happens. However, if you don't have a clear vision on where you're going, if you don't have clarity, why are you going fast? I mean, if you don't know where you're going, you're driving down the road and you come to a fork in the road and you're going 120 miles an hour and you don't know which fork to take, why are you going so fast? Shouldn't you slow down to understand which exit to take or which fork in the road you need to take? Anyway, just my thought. So we're going to talk about vision a little bit, aka clarity. So one of the things specifically that's just hit me, and I guess stuck with me recently, is this whole topic of purpose, the purpose behind the vision, the purpose that obviously influences the vision. So if we take a step deeper beyond just vision, like, let's look at the purpose, specifically for those who are faith-driven as well, because you're looking and saying, hey, how do I align my vision with what God wants for my life and what He wants my vision to be? And it's this, here's God, I think God's vision's here, here's my vision, how do these commingle, or how do these work together, how do these collaborate, or I don't know what they're supposed to be, so I'm just stuck. That's so common for so many. I felt it myself several times in several seasons. In fact, not that long ago, very recently, in fact. And that's part of it, right? What we have to do in those moments, and this is coming from personal experience, what I found worked for me, and what I've seen work for my clients, and many other friends and colleagues and other entrepreneurs I look up to and people that I've mentored with, etc., is we have to go back to the roots. We have to go to the roots. Okay, if we're trying to understand purpose so that we can have we can have clarity on our vision, so that we can then lead our teams or lead our family or build an organization or an empire or whatever it is, we have to look at the roots. And this might be a little Sunday school for some of you, but I'm finding the older I get, the more that cliches and the stuff that seems too simple is actually where we need to spend more time. It's the foundations. I mean, it reminds me of Vince Lombardi. If you're into football, he won the first two. He was a coach. Won his first two Super Bowls. Coached the Green Bay Packers, which my dad's from Wisconsin, so I was born with cheese on my head. Will die a Packer fan, I'm sure. But anyway, he won the first two Super Bowls, and one of his famous lines is walking up to his players at the beginning of each season and holding out a football and saying, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And that's where they started every season, was at the very fundamentals and foundation of the game of football. So when we're struggling, where we're stuck, we have to go back to the foundations and the fundamentals of the thing we're stuck in. So in this topic, we're talking about purpose, or we're talking about vision, which then leads us to purpose. Well, where do we find purpose? We got to go back to the Bible. We got to look at the Bible, and we have to see, what does God value? What does God say about who he is? And what does God say about who I am? And what does he say about what I'm supposed to do? Now, this is not going to be a Bible study. Maybe we'll make a different video on that. That would be fun. But this is just some talking points. My goal is that this is hopefully gonna help somebody, and it's really inspired by specifically a couple of people that are clients of mine. So hopefully this helps them as well. Anyway, so we have to go back to the roots. We have to go back to the foundation. So if we're stuck, what does God say about himself? I learned this actually from Myron Golden. I think he's an incredibly talented and gifted speaker, presenter, teacher, mentor. Anyway, he's incredible. Obviously we know God is a creator. He created things, right? He created the world. He created the universe. He created you and me. We know that. But did you know that that is the first thing he tells us about himself, is that he's a creator? Look at Genesis. The first thing he tells us about himself is that he's a creator. And then if you fast forward just a little bit, it talks about when he made man, species of man, men and women, right? And he talked about how he put an aspect of himself in us, or he made us in his image, right? Well, if that's the case, and he's a creator, and he creates, that's because that's in his nature, and he's made us in his image, then that means that there's an aspect of his creativity in all of us. Okay, well, then we look through the Bible, and some more in Genesis, and where he goes and talks about go forth and replenish the earth, subdue it, have dominion, right? Again, if you go and watch Myron Golden, you hear him talk about this, so I'm not trying to steal his talking points, but this, if you have not watched him talk about some of this, I would highly suggest you go, because he can say it so much more eloquently than I can. But my hope is that this plants a seed for you in the topic of purpose and vision. Anyway, he talks about subduing it and having dominion. And that's what God calls us to do. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, go forth and replenish the earth, multiply, that type of thing. I'm going to go have a bunch of kids. And this is not what he's talking about. It's not what he's talking about. He's talking about, like, basically, I've created this world with all the things you need in it to make it better. And you're going to do it for my glory. You're going to do it for the glory of God, because I gave you life and I gave you all of this material and things and animals and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now your job is to go make the world better with what I've given you. And I've given you the world. You have dominion over the world. So, okay, when we understand, if we can look at that and let that sit and marinate for a minute. So we are created in his image, which means we are creative. Part of our purpose is to create, because it's in our nature, because it's in God's nature to create. And he's given us the world as our dominion. He's given us all the tools and all the resources that we could need to go and create, and that is pleasing to him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have created it. And he tells us, and that's his command to us, is to go out and multiply what he has already given us. Well, if that's the case, does that not give us a new foundation for understanding purpose? Does that not give us a new foundation for understanding where our vision might start to take root? If we're supposed to create and we're supposed to multiply and we're supposed to make the world a better place with the gifts that we've been given, that's going to help a ton in this topic. So then let's look at this. What are you naturally really good at? If I've been given gifts, and I'm called to go make the world a better place for His glory, okay, well now my purpose is now to honor Him. At least that's the first part of my purpose. Okay, cool. And I get to honor Him by creating things with my gifts. Okay, so then what are my gifts? Another question would be, how do I make the world a better place? Well, He tells us. And this is laced throughout the Bible, and it can be summarized as serving others. Think about it. If you've read through the Bible at all, it talks about it. Old Testament and New Testament throughout. We are called to serve each other. Called to serve. So I'm supposed to honor God. I'm supposed to create, use my gifts, and serve people. Okay. Well, those are some pretty darn clear instructions. So now we have some ingredients we can build a formula for that now spits out our vision, or our purpose, I should say, which then can influence our vision. So we have these things, okay, create, plus serving people, plus my gifts, etc., equals, okay, now you have to, obviously, if you remember math, solve for x. That's what we're doing here, right? We've been given a couple of the numbers, now we have to solve for x and y. So you need to fill in the blanks. Okay, what are my gifts? How can I best serve people? Who are the people I'm supposed to serve? All through the lens of how does my contribution or my actions better the world or better the world around me? It might not be, I should clarify this. When we talk about bettering the world, we're not talking necessarily about like, okay, I'm going to better the world. I have to become the next Elon Musk, who is commercializing space travel so we can go to Mars and creating electric vehicles so nobody has to drive ever again. Like, if you are the next Elon Musk, like, good on you. God gave you a much bigger brain than He gave me. And that's fantastic. Hallelujah. But that's not necessarily the type of change we're talking about here. We're talking about how do I, with the gifts we've been given, make the world around us better? Now, the world around you, it might just be your spouse. It might just be your parents. It might just be the neighbor. It might just be your kid. It can be small, right? Because it has purpose. It is all a part of a plan that is bigger than our understanding, right? And if what we're doing is glorifying to God, is that not honoring what He called us to do? Takes the comparison out of it. Because because everyone's equipped differently. Everyone is equipped differently. No one is equipped the same. So if I'm equipped differently than you, even if we're on the same vein of like similar equippedness, it's not a word, but you get it. But it's still different. There's variables there. How then can I compare myself? And we all know this, whether you've heard this or not. Comparison is the thief of joy. Anyway, sorry, rabbit trail moment. But comparison is the thief of joy, and we all know not to compare, but we all do it anyway. But if we can look at the perspective or through the lens of, okay, I'm equipped, but I'm equipped differently than everyone else. I truly, as cliche as it is, I get to run my own race. I'm not comparing myself to Bob or the neighbor, or maybe I'm a coach. I'm not comparing myself to Tony Robbins. Maybe I'm a sports coach. I'm not comparing myself to Vince Lombardi, right? I'm running my race and I'm doing what I'm equipped to do and making the best impact I can make. Are you following? You tracking? I hope so. Okay, so we have the formula, right? We have the formula. That shows us purpose. Okay, I'm going to honor God through my gifts and through my creativity. By the way, creativity does not necessarily mean like arts and crafts or music. I am not artsy. I am not crafty. I am not musically inclined. But I am creative because he says I am. So it is my job now to figure out, where am I creative? What avenue? What is my medium for creating? I can tell you, it ain't a canvas. It ain't a guitar. It definitely isn't. It's something else entirely. So we have to understand, have the responsibility to figure out what our canvases are, where are we creative. And if you are in music, if you are in art, fantastic. But I know that in our culture we hear creativity and we think artsy fartsy. At least I do. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, moving on. So we understand we're going to honor God. We're going to use our creativity to create stuff and make stuff. And we're going to, and that using our gifts, creating and making stuff using our gifts, that falls within our gifts, so that it serves people. Cool. So now we have to understand, who do we serve? Right? And it's the people around us. But beyond that, it might be a specific group of people. I love serving entrepreneurs specifically. So that is a group of people. That is some of the people that I feel fits into, that's solving for my Y or solving for my X in the formula. I'm using my gifts to help entrepreneurs, to serve them. Okay? So now we've got that purpose. Cool. So now we have the foundation for a vision. Okay, well, I know that I want to use my gifts to honor God and create stuff to serve these people. What could that look like? What could that look like? And this is where we get to dream a little bit. And we get to look at far into the future. What is it that I can create? Now, on the topic of vision, I personally have not experienced this and have not seen this to be true across the board. That you have to have a soul vision, and it's your soul vision for your whole life. And that's the vision for your entire life. I don't. With the exception of, I'm going to honor God using my gifts to serve people. And at the end, I have done what I could do with what I was equipped with. And I go to heaven and I sit in front of him. And I'm told, well done, good and faithful servant. That is the vision for my life. And that, for every believer and every follower of Christ, that is the vision. Should be anyway. Because that's the only one that truly matters. Everything else is secondary or tertiary or a subset of that. Okay? So we use that as the foundation. So specifically now, that's the generic, the base, the foundation. Now how do we custom tailor it to you? Okay. So now we look at with the gifts and everything like that, we look at that formula and we look forward and go, okay, what could this look like in 5 years? What can we look at like in this 10 years? Some call it dream building, some call it goal setting, but we want to take this a little deeper, not just like accomplishing stuff, not just like, yeah, I can buy a Ferrari because I made a bunch of money, because that can be a goal, definitely a goal, but that's not the vision. The vision is not to buy a Ferrari. The vision is personal, and it is something that is going to drive you, because this is another thing I'm going to quote Myron Golden on. This is on my mind a lot recently and today, apparently, is heaven gives earth meaning and earth gives heaven expression. And I just haven't found another way to say that better. So Myron, you're a genius. Anyway, that when you look at that, okay, if heaven gives earth meaning and earth gives heaven expression, that just further goes right into our formula. that God has created us to be creators, so we can create, we can make the world a better place. That's literally giving us purpose. It gives us, aka, meaning. And then when we do it, we're acting it out. We become a beacon for expressing Him. Right? Okay. Getting all excited. This is just, it's just so cool. So cool. Okay. Stay focused. So, when we go and make this personal for ourselves, we look at, okay, what does this look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And having a vision that drives you forward. Because the reality is that, especially for entrepreneurs, it is a day-to-day thing. It really is. Day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, quarter-to-quarter, you get the point of am I doing the right thing? This is hard. Being an entrepreneur is hard. Because, at least in our culture, it's kind of, it's against the grain, but it's not against the grain because it's actually the foundation of our country from an economic perspective. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation another time. Stay focused, Luke. Stay focused. Okay. The point being is that it is very hard, and we have to, day to day, week to week, month to month, etc., we have to keep ourselves on track. In order to do that, we have to be connected to the vision, because the vision is what's going to drive us forward. So what is going to drive you forward? A Ferrari is not going to drive is not the right word. You get the point, though. It's not going to move you forward on a consistent day-to-day basis. It just isn't. It will for a while, but then you're going to start looking and go, well, but I've gotten around for the last 30-some years without a Ferrari. I've had different cars, and other cars get me from point A to point B, which is the purpose of a car. A Ferrari would just get me there faster and in more style, which is cool, but like, it doesn't change my life, right? And this is really hard. Do I really want a Ferrari that bad? So when we look at a vision, it has to be something that you look and go, do I really want it that bad? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But it ain't gonna be a Ferrari. I don't care who you are. It just isn't gonna be a Ferrari. It's going to be something like, I want to get to the end of my life and be able to have my family next to me and my kids there and my spouse there if she's still living, and for them to be by my side, and I can look back at my life and go, you know what? Maybe I'll have regrets. I'm sure I will. But I can look back and go, man, I lived an incredibly amazing life, and look at my family right here. They're all doing well, and I did everything I was supposed to for them. I made mistakes along the way, but I course corrected, and I provided for my family, and they are thriving mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in their relationships, in all the areas that mattered, and I helped set that foundation up. That drives me, because the opposite of that is getting to the end of my life and I'm estranged from my family. My kids are messed up, and I know, and I understand they're going to make their own decisions. I understand that. But looking back on what could I have done better, and knowing that I could have done things better, and that I wasn't courageous enough to do the hard things to provide for my family the way that they needed it, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever, financially, all of that. And that the fear, or I should say fear isn't the right word, the anxiety and the worry of that drives me more than any material object ever would, because I have to get that right. I have to get those relationships right. I know I'm not going to be perfect. That's not what I'm talking about. But I have to make it right at all costs. That drives me more than any material object ever, personally. So that has to be factored into the vision. Something that is at that level of drive, and like, I can't fail my kids. I can't fail my wife. It is not even a question. So therefore, I have to do right by them. And that has to be factored into the vision for your life. Or for your season. Right? Because like we talked about, it isn't necessarily just for your entire life. It might just be for a season. So that was more on the personal side, because I'm all fired up. Let's go back to the business side for a second. You go, okay, Luke, that's great. Yeah, okay, cool. you do need to figure out the personal side. It might take some time, but you do need to figure out the personal side because it will influence your business. It'll influence the business side. When you get to the business side and you look at the business vision, that's going to look different business to business based upon the purpose of the business. Yeah. But same thing. What is going to drive the business forward? What is the vision that not only you can get behind, obviously you have to get behind it first because you're the leader. And what are you going to get behind and push every day to make it happen? What is the vision? I'm going to have this outcome for this group of people. I'm going to change this industry, whatever it may be, big, audacious vision that's also in reality, right? So like we have one company in the trucking industry as an example, and we're reworking it, but the vision right now, we don't have the exact wording worked out because we're actually working on this right now. But basically is to change the trucking compliance industry so that it is more accessible for truckers to be able to keep themselves in compliance simpler and keep themselves on the road making money. Like I said, the wording isn't done yet, but the gist of it is that we can do that through not only a better service offering, but as well as transforming from a solely service-based company to a product-based company, specifically SaaS, service as a software, software as a service company, and we can provide a different experience at a lower cost or lower barrier to entry so that more truckers can access it, and it will be way, way simpler and less clunky, and it will literally revolutionize trucking compliance. That's the long-term vision. Like, again, we're working on the wording, but you get the point. That's in the gist of like we want to revolutionize the compliance so that truckers can stay in compliance and keep rolling and making money. So it's going to change, but by company to company based on the purpose. But what is going to excite you as the leader, so that because then you're going to have to translate that to your team. You're going to have to translate that vision to your team, and they have to get behind it. They have to understand why is it that we do this. Otherwise, they're just going to be clock punchers, and we don't want that. We want to build a team and a culture. Again, conversation for another time, but we can all agree to that. So when we're building the vision, we have to connect with it first. We have to understand the purpose behind it. And we talked a lot about the personal stuff, but it's the same process we walk through when we get to business. We just walk through the personal stuff first so that we can get ourselves grounded, so that we can then therefore get the businesses grounded, right? So come to land the plane. I've gotten all hyped up on this conversation and discussion because this is very exciting to me. I love this because I see it being the crucial element that so many miss. I've seen it time and time again where they think that the vision for their business and their life are the same in some cases, or they're so closely related because they just think of it in the terms of money. And money is just a tool. And obviously it's what drives business, because if you ain't making money, you really don't got a business. But that's not just solely the only purpose of business. It is to make an impact. It is to serve others in a way that is honoring to God. So, to come land the plane, summarize. If you're struggling with clarity, it's because you're disconnected from your vision. If you're disconnected from your vision, it's probably because you might just be haven't reviewed it in a while, and you just need to refresh your memory on why you started this in the first place. But more than likely, in my experience, personally and with clients, and like I've mentioned earlier, is that it's because you're disconnected from the purpose. So the vision is disconnected because it's disconnected from the purpose, or you're disconnected from the purpose. And you're disconnected from the purpose because you haven't reviewed or really understood what the foundation of your purpose is. And the foundation of your purpose is really to serve God through understanding what He values and using your gifts to create things that serve others, making the world a better place. So when you can understand that and start filling in the blanks, solving for X, right? Like we talked about, then you get clarity on purpose. When you have clarity on purpose, then you can have clarity in vision. When you have clarity in vision, you have clarity in how you're going to operate and run things, both talking your life and your business, in a way that is on purpose, that is on mission, that moves you towards the vision that you have, using your gifts, using your alignment with Christ, etc. So those are my thoughts. Like I said, this is just kind of a discussion. The videos like this are really just a discussion, just a chat. But I hope that it helps, and I hope that it serves you. I know it serves me doing them, gets me all riled up, as you can see, but my hope is that it truly serves you. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you on the next one.